Hello and welcome to another review. Today we are looking at the Victorinox Huntsmen Silvertech. One problem with the Silvertech right off the bat is not very photogenic with this lighting. Sorry about that. Can't change it, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's where the, standard red's kind of nice. But whatever, we'll move on from there. So, this is a fun little tool to have. Alright, this will make you the cool kid for all your friends. And I'm going to explain why that is. I'll also go through the positives and negatives of everything and just what I've been using this for. This is part of my everyday carry and just where I found uses. So, starting with the bottom here, you've got this little hole punch here. And mostly just to get through tooled leather. You can scrape a few things with a little flat surface, stuff like that. I've used this a couple times whenever I've had, say, had to add a new shoelace hole, or I did have to take one of my fixed blade knives and put a new fasten onto it, button fasten on. And this was a really good tool just to punch the leather and add that new fasten to it, so worked great for that. Really should have been filming it, but I was more busy just fixing things up. Very sharp, almost knife sharp. About, if you bought a really cheap blade, it would be the sharpest those would ever get. Which is saying something for just a mostly blunt, slightly edged tool here, so it's about as sharp as some cheap knives. And that's saying something, actually. Some of these, from the cheaper models, the knockoff models, aren't as good. This is just nice quality work here. So good hole punch, good way to add a little indentation to something. Yeah, you can hold like that. I guess you can use it as a self-defense tool, but then again, this also has a knife blade to it, so what's the point? Alright, now the next thing is this nice little corkscrew. Now, a lot of people do these Victorinox reviews, they talk about how bad or how useless this kind of thing is. Like, yeah, if I'm ever out in the woods and need to open up a bottle of wine, sure, that's probably not when you're going to use it. When you can use something like this is part of your cool kid factor. Alright, there was a time last year, I believe it was New Year's Eve, wanted to open up a bottle of wine to celebrate. Someone got out the little corkscrew in the kitchen. That thing severed right at its base. But lucky me, I had a spare here, which is a much stronger material. Very high quality steel by comparison. Alright, put that sucker in the cork, pulled that out, it was great. So good for certain little social emergencies like that. Again, you're not going to use the corkscrew too much in the field. And again, I wouldn't use this knife too much in the field, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Alright, now here's the big downside of this. Go ahead and get right to it. Now, what can you use this tool for? What do you think? No, not that. Not that either. No, this is a little package holding tool. It's a very, very old design when delivery boys would have little twine wrapping on the paper box, on cardboard boxes or paper boxes, and you'd use that instead of having to pressure your fingers with the box, and you'd carry it that way. Great idea back then, but we don't really do that anymore. Any type of gift wrap rope or something is really just kind of ornamental. There's no function to string packaging ties anymore, so this is just kind of a hangover from a, lost era or something, or, previous era. I've tried to find a way to use this in today's world. I thought, well, maybe you could put this in between, a section of branches on a tree and put a cooking pot and a fire under. That's kind of stupid. Thought, oh, maybe it's some sort of makeshift coat hanger. Nope, wouldn't work there either. There's really no reason to have this. So I would suggest to Victorinox to take this off of their models and replace this with maybe a Phillips head screwdriver. I know that on the Victorinox Fieldmaster they put one right here, but keep this little package hook for some reason. This is something they could get rid of. They really need to. I don't know why they haven't. Oop. Hey, oh, and it's stuck on the thing. Little piece there. Nope, move back. There you go. And yeah, that's a burden. Alright, now this piece here, this little keychain, key ring holder, whatever you want to call it. Not particularly useful for me. There's one thing I've been able to do with this, and that is, hold on one second. Alright, if I ever wanted to, I could, this little piece here, hold on. You have no idea what's going on, that's funny. I could take this little nanolite, hook that in here, and then make it a little bit more of a useful tool like that, if I so chose, or put a little lanyard or something on there. That's about all it's really useful for, and again, it gets kind of stuck here, and that piece goes over it, this piece goes over it, that little hole punch I talked about, which for me is kind of a downer. But yeah, it's more for show, I guess. It's not really that functional. This could not hold much weight to it. It's not supposed to. I know people who've tried to do that and don't. It's just if you want to add a little accessory like a small flashlight like that, maybe a lanyard to add a little extra grip, that's about all you'd use it for. Nothing much else. So yeah, not much use to it. I guess you could hook it onto a little carabiner on your backpack and have it jingle jangle as you do stuff, but that's kind of silly. Alright, well, let's go to the top half of the knife, sorry. And let's go through all these tools. So, can opener and small flathead screwdriver. There's 2 flathead screwdrivers, no Phillips head on this. Again, get rid of the package hook, put a Phillips head on there, please. It wouldn't be that difficult. There must be a way to do it. But anyways, until then, you do have this little small Phillips head if you want to use that. And it works in certain situations. I wouldn't use it on anything like woodworking screws or something like that. This just, this little locking mechanism doesn't work for that very well. But, for a little touch-up on a few items here and there, like, let's see. A couple knives I have kind of have a flathead screw to it. One of my old practice knives did. This is a good way to kind of touch things up a little bit if I had to on the, when I'm out at work or something. But really, the main function here is the can opener. It is functional. It does take a little bit of a learning curve if you've never worked with a can opener before. So try to keep this centered. And it's good. Slower than, using your crank handle or your electric one, but it does work, so it's not a bad tool to have. I like that, especially if you're out camping and stuff, you got your canned food. You have at least one can opener, slow but steady, that'll work. Alright, on the other side, we have the flathead screwdriver, wire crimper, and bottle opener. So again, people joke about the bottle opener, like, yeah, if I'm ever out camping, I need to open up the beer. Well, again, this is probably not your outdoor knife, really, and I'll talk about that more towards the end when we get through some of these tools. It's kind of part of your cool kid factor. As I bring that with me, I go to a party or something, I've got a way to open up the bottles, and I'm good. This impressive, feel like, hey, I'm already got my bottle opener. Click. And this flathead screwdriver here actually has come in useful a couple times. Just about a couple days ago, I was helping a friend move and needed help on his dining room table to get fixed. And I was the only person with a screwdriver because I brought this with me. So I was able to screw those on there properly, get it stabilized. Not as well as with an electric drill, but enough to at least get things until he could go grab his tools and go from there. So again, you never know when these things are going to be useful, and, it's your cool kid factor. You have something that makes you kind of prepared for whatever. Alright, next down the line, we have the scissors. Not industrial scissors, because how small they are, but they do a great job. I wish there was more scissors made with this type of steel. And this is just a smooth action on it. So I do love using these things. I've cut paper, cut string, cut a lot of items here and there, and it just keeps cutting just fine. These I have not had to sharpen yet. They've been used quite regularly, actually. So that's saying something. I don't really have any paper right on hand. I've kind of fumbled around a little too much in this review already, but if you really want to see a good test of all these functions, I might do another video on that. It's just sort of a review. A nice spring could come loose, but they do make replacements that are easy to put on your own if you need to. And again, it's not a heavy use, it's kind of just your everyday menial tasks. But still very high quality. I wish they made some larger sizes with that. Let's move on to this little wood saw here. Alright, now a pocket knife like that, you might think not much use to it, but yeah, good teeth, very nice bite to it. I have taken down a couple branches with this in my yards, front and back. whenever I've needed to, and it's much better than, say, using some serrated knives, like my Boker. Thin blade here, but it's very sturdy. Alright, a little bit of a give, but that's just deflects as it's going through the wood against the grain, things like that. And yeah, cleans up nice, very easy. I'm, very impressed with this durability on such a piece of equipment. Because usually these type of knives, we see a lot of the knockoffs and stuff, they're very gimmicky, they break down. This just keeps on going. This is the original, and there's a reason why they've been in business so long. Alright, now we get into the other fun stuff. Now we have the small blade here. Now, funny story on that. These small blades were actually used to erase pen mistakes back in the day when, I guess, a different kind of ink was used, and you could just put that against the surface, rub it across, and you could erase mistakes. So that's a nice idea, but now it's just sort of another hangover from an older time, but a useful one at that. Alright, you have two knife blades on here, one about a 2-inch blade and this little inch and a half, maybe. Alright, let me see if I can't find... Oh, there's my measuring tape. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and measure that the best we can here. Alright, so cutting edge on this. Let's be careful here. That right at the base. It's about 1.5 inches. Yeah, hard to see from there. Don't want to carry up. But yeah, that's good for them. Yep. Yeah, this is at an angle, so things are sliding, and of course the blade would slide now instead of everything else. But yes, this is a nice little tool for a small task where you just need a little bit of cutting. Couple twigs, things like that, Not a heavy, durable knife because it's such a thin blade. And again, the slip joint mechanism isn't good for a lot of intense impact and things. But yeah, good little carving. It's got some notches, things like that. And now the main blade. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Alright. Kind of thin. Alright, a little bit of a wide angle to it. Kind of, I want to say sheep's foot here, and then kind of spear points out here. Very strange looking blade. Although we get kind of used to seeing that, but compared to some of the others, you see like the, the clip points, the, what are they called? The tanto blades, things like that. So kind of a strange design, that little sheep's foot and little drop point there. But it does work really well, and this is, again, much the same, but for a slightly larger, more general purpose than the small blade. And I think the best use of this knife, if you're going to take it out in the woods and stuff, is, recreational camping, and then maybe these knife blades can be used to help make some homemade snares and stuff for trapping game. That's about where you want to go with that. But yeah, this works great for EDC, so an example. Let's say I have a utility knife like the Benchmade Griptilian. Alright, well, this is what, 3.5-inch blade? Some areas not good to take this out in public for utility purposes because people get scared of knives. But the Swiss Army knife, people know, alright? It's not really known to be a quote-unquote killer weapon or deadly knife or anything. It's a tool. Most people find it like a gimmick or, as its intended purpose for general EDC uses. So you can use that to your advantage and take these out when you're around the sheeple. And yeah, it'll work just fine for those same kind of tasks you might use for your tactical folder, for general purpose, or you're just, your major knives, just, around people who maybe would be kind of freaked out by the larger blades. Or in areas where you maybe just can't bring those in. So this can be your tool for that purpose. And that's what I've been using it for mostly. So those occasions I can't bring out the Benchmade or, one of my other larger folders, so it's kind of just a good little knife to have to keep, sort of calm the masses. Alright, so the steel on these things, I want to say they call it a DIN 1.4116 or something. It's very similar to some of the K-bar hunters. Victorinox is very secretive about what their steel type is. I don't know, don't quote me on that one, but it's some sort of DIN classification steel, whatever that is. And yeah, it's a stainless that's fairly durable. A bit on the softer side of the Rockwell hardness scale, but doesn't really need to be. It's not one of those you're probably going to use every day for intense purposes. This is once, maybe twice a week you're going to use this, and maybe every month, every other month you might sharpen up a little bit, and then it gets back to being sharp when it needs to. So it's a very light to medium use knife. As are all the tools here, I believe they are the same steel type and quality, and all of it works great. Alright, so again, package hook's a bit of a problem. This little keyring I'm not a big fan of, but it has its uses if you really want to for accessories. And then the other problem here is, yes, silvery, it's not very woodsman-y. It's useful if it ever got lost or dropped in the woods. You could probably find it easier than some of the, wood grain ones and all black models of knives that you have. So there's where that's useful. And another complaint some people have are these little panelings. They're very smooth, no grip to them whatsoever. I understand that completely, and again, this is not meant to be one of those heavy-use knives. This is not, it's not a fixed blade, AK bayonet, that you could just chop through anything. This isn't a ZT or one of those. It's a Victorinox for small, general, light-purpose stuff you might do every day, and, it's a substitute for your larger knives when you don't really want to use them for those finer works or these lighter tasks. So, yeah, mostly that. Really wouldn't put us into extreme use, heavy use, things like that. Just cutting a few things here. You might use this as a, makeshift, food prep or eating knife if you didn't have one on you or you lost one. And that's about it. So, all in all, very nice knife. Bit of an investment. Some people might find a problem with the Silvertech. They range from around $30 to $50. So it's to some people more of a collector piece, but I found a lot of use for it. Oh, before I forget, we do have this little toothpick here, which mostly I just use to kind of clear the dust out in between when these have been floating around my pocket for a while. I really don't try to put that on my teeth, especially after all the use I've done. And the tweezers. Almost forgot about these. Alright, now these have been very useful. Alright, example, my dog, running around like she does. She got a little bit of something stuck in between her paw. Alright, very painful. She was kind of limping on it a little bit. Took a look, found this small shard of something in there. The problem is, these were the only tweezers. It was hard to get any other kind of tweezers to try to pick them up by hand. These tweezers are just small and fine enough to be able to very gently pull that out from her paw, and she was good as new. So with these little Victorinox multi-tools, you never know exactly when you're going to need them or when you're going to use them, but when you do, you're so glad you had them, I tell you. So yes, very positive review. If I were to give this a, rating, given the intended purpose for this and the capabilities, I would put this at about 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Depending on your idea of just where this is. As a knife for maybe making small snares for rabbits or squirrels or whatever you're going to trap game with, or for general purpose for a very light task, this is a very good knife. It has a lot of extra tools on there that are good in some rare occasions, or sometimes more regular occasions. As the longer I've carried this, the more I've had to use it, so that's what I've noticed. And the more I'm thankful I do have one. But it's not an extreme use, that's not a 154 cm, it's not an S30V steel that's going to, chop down trees and then be fine enough to shave your beard with. It's above the 420 HC, or probably around the, AUS 8A or 8CR13 MOV quality, maybe a little better stainless-wise. And that's what it's intended for, very light to just slightly into the range of medium use that you might do every week or every day. And same thing with all those tools, just general purpose stuff. Are they the best at that? Is a, let's say, more professional made bottle opener by, say, a brewing company better? Yeah, those do work better, but this is great when I'm on the go. I don't know, crank can opener or those little GI can openers, are they better than this one here? Personally, yeah. This one isn't always the best, but it does work, There are better scissors, larger scissors that work for more tasks, but these do work whenever you need them, so it's a nice way to have a little, at least, an edge of a tool for when you need it. I guess what I'm trying to say. It's a good substitute for emergency use, and by emergency we're talking very, very light emergency. So what is this one thing really missing off of it other than a Phillips head screwdriver? I would say, let me grab this. Yeah. Alright, would be these little, you know, multi-tool pliers here, the little wire clipper and stuff. It's about the only thing missing. The only thing that, say, a Leatherman, in my opinion, really has over the Victorinox is that and maybe the grip to it. Alright, but this makes a great knife for you just to have EDC. This and other similar Victorinox models are good trainer knives. Alright, let's say you have a young, you know, cousin, son, daughter, etc. You want to teach them a little bit about the wilderness, a little bit about how to use a knife. Okay. This cannot be made to... Oh, sorry. Yeah, see? The edge of this is so... Yeah, I had to put a little notebook under that to cut the glare off. Sorry. But yeah, this is a good knife for kind of training them because it's not a combat knife. It doesn't look anything like a combat knife. Stop doing that. Okay. Stay. Yeah, let's see. Okay. I have this little knife right here. You know, this doesn't make a good trainer for a young person because, again, it looks kind of tactical, kind of saber swordy kind of thing. Not always the best choice, whereas a little Victorinox like that, or an SD Classic, you know, a Spartan, Cadet, those kind of knives, they're good ways to kind of teach the tool fundamentals of knife use. You know, somewhat similar to what I said about my Boker Subcom F. It's another one of those good knives for that kind of purpose, of teaching what a knife can be other than a weapon, and showing, you know, other tool uses you can have with these. Alright, well that's about all I have to say. This is probably the longest review ever for a Victorinox product. You know, maybe, or at least one of the most long-winded ones. Hope I didn't ramble too badly. Alright, I will see you next time for another review, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for your time.